Ever feel like there's just never enough time? Well, here's your solution, the Chrono Cube. It's time in a box. Shining the light of a green cube on anything mechanical will freeze it in time. Buttons remain pressed, doors stay open, you name it. Try it out. Experiment. That's why we set up these rooms after all.
They sacrificed us with no regard.
Our commanders were adamant. We were to immediately break contact with the Co and never reveal our discovery to anyone. We had lived without Aether for a long time, and we knew that our society would completely break down without it. A few of us were plagued by the truth, but over time, this terrible ongoing tragedy just became routine, and ultimately, it led to the predicament we now face. You must think that we're all monsters, choosing to knowingly enslave a civilization like that. Above all, we were desperate. It wasn't that long ago that we were facing our own demise. And really? Well, can you find a polling booth? I really need to ask you something. I'm sure this question won't come as a surprise to you. You know what we've done. So, would you sacrifice a world and its people to save your own? Left to sacrifice them, right to save them at the cost of your own world. What a terrible burden, to choose who lives and who dies. It's easy to be biased towards our own, or even against ourselves in the desire to be fair. Death is a natural part of life, but accelerating that process can change an entire ecosystem. And sometimes, by trying to save lives, we can end up destroying them irremediably.
We pleaded, and they ignored us.
We kept our distances from the Co, disabling any means we had of communicating with them. The decision was always out of my hands, and in a way, it was comforting not to have to make that choice. Our food supplies relied on Aether, but also our means of traveling, our health system. We just couldn't live without it. It had brought us back from decades, if not centuries, of corruption, famine, and war, and we refused to return to that reality. The Co had submitted to Masters for far too long, and now they were ready to turn our machines against us. One day, the core just shattered and Aether quickly spread across the construct. It triggered the emergency lockdown protocol, and we were forced to evacuate the facility. But we knew that Aether was already seeping through the walls and into the outside world.
We grew beyond their prison.
Before long, the area around the construct became uninhabitable, with anyone approaching vanishing without a trace. We had a lot of casualties before the nearby cities were properly evacuated. It was too late to erect any protective barrier, so all we could do was hide and hope for the Aether Leak to stop. But it never did. Well, I finally did it. I finished signing the divorce papers. Now I just need to mail them and it'll all be over. I'm relieved, really. I've made my peace with this situation a long time ago, and I'm ready to just bury myself back into work. I heard that I'll be involved in some promising new portal experiments involving those fancy green cubes which affect spacetime. Something to look forward to.
We gathered beyond their reach.
Over the course of weeks, Aether gathered into orange clouds in the sky. The resulting storm first covered the coastal area, then the nation as a whole, and now the entire world. There was a worldwide panic as people started to vanish through long-term exposition to the Aether, and we were powerless to stop it.
We couldn't risk stopping.
I could never blame the Co for defending themselves. We enslaved them like the Terragon did before us, and now they're fighting back. But that doesn't mean that I won't fight until my very last breath to stop this calamity. I refuse to see everything I care about vanish for the choices of a handful.
He wants to destroy us, but you must resist.
Now that you know the truth, I'm sure you have many thoughts about all of this. As the Aethernaut, your actions will decide our future. By reaching the core, you can shut down the connection to the Co and save us. I'd like to see what you think of this, if you can find a polling booth. We started testing the portal generators with green cubes, and the results have been wonderful, unsettling, terrifying. As if bending space wasn't impressive enough, now we're bending time and breaking into parallel worlds too. As always, more tests are needed, and we'll need more candidates to send through, but those are some remarkable breakthroughs. It might be cliche to say, but I can't believe I'm getting paid to do this.
His words are poison. Don't listen.
I know the Co are speaking to you, telling you that I'm lying. I've tried to be as upfront with you as I could, but I still have been holding something back. I'm the last member of the team locked in this bunker who has not vanished yet. And after all of this time, I don't even know how many are left outside.
wait to stop us.
After we escaped from the construct, we were faced with a choice. Try to outrun the storm, or stay and try to stop it. Many of my colleagues had families, and they decided to travel as far away as possible from the epicenter. I wanted to escape too. I was terrified, but I also had nowhere to go. So I stayed, and the remaining few of us regrouped in a separate facility deep underground.
We have grown far beyond our prison walls.
The Aethernaut project was ambitious, but necessary. The only way to stop the storm was by reaching the core itself, so we needed to find some way to protect against Aether. First, we created suits of armor using Aerolite, the same material used for Aether cubes. But as we lost contact with the first wave of volunteers, we realized that the Co had evolved and could now overcome those protections.